The certificate of the quiz team, please collect. Deepayan Shaha. The quiz team participants.
Kept there, please collect it. Alongside that photo session area, the certificates will be kept there. Participation certificates, please collect it.
As we move on to the main session, we will have a short session on ethics. May I request Dr. Somobroto Roy Choudhury to come to the dais and start the proceedings. His talk will be current guidelines of medical ethics, and may I request Professor Anirban Majumdar to chair the session. Over to Professor Majumdar. অনির্বাণ দা স্টেজে যাও, এখানে যা আছে নিয়ে নে, কোনটা কার নিয়ে। কি বলছো?
So without wasting time, so let us start. So first session will be on the medical ethics, and it will be delivered by Dr. Somobroto Roy Choudhury. I think all those who are sitting back, can you please come forward, because the quiz is over, so you can come forward and occupy the front seats. এই তোমরাও চলে এসো, সামনের দিকে চলে এসো, না সামনের দিকে এসে বসো। Over to you, Somo. You can start.
As you know, we have been conducting, this is the 13th year of the Charles Best Memorial Day celebrations. I have been entrusted with the topic with current guidelines of medical ethics in India. This is compiled as of August 18, 2025 from the websites which are given. We are running exactly 10 minutes late. So, the foundation principles of medical ethics remains consistent, rooted in the global ethical standards. Autonomy, which states the patient's right to make their own decisions about their medical care. This includes right to give informed consent or to refuse treatment also. Beneficence, the physician's duty to act in the best interest of the patient. This is the obligation to do good. Non-maleficence, the physician's duty to do no harm. This is the obligation to avoid inflicting harm on the patient. And justice, the obligation to treat all patients fairly and equitably, ensuring the just distribution of healthcare resources. And last comes the confidentiality and the informed consent. These principles form the ethical bedrock for all professional conduct. So within ethics, you can differentiate into clinical practice ethics as well as research ethics. So what are examples of breaches of clinical ethics? Indian origin US doctor pleads guilty to illegal opioids. This is from New York, May 2023. 76-year-old Indian American doctor in the US state of California has pleaded guilty to 3 counts of illegally prescribing opioids and other medication, as authorities said. So, prescribing illegally some opioid. He was unethical practices in medical practice. What does it constitute? Discrimination in care. So, we must offer what is the best, irrespective of what idea we form about the patient's ability to carry on. If the patient refuses, that's a separate issue altogether. Failure to obtain informed consent, hiding mistakes, fraudulent billing, practicing without proper qualification or under the influence of inebriating agents, sexual misconduct, breach of confidentiality, negligent or unnecessary treatment, improper relationships with pharmaceutical companies, and also defensive medicine. These actions not only violate ethical and legal duties, but also have severe consequences for patients and healthcare professionals, including loss of license, civil penalties, and criminal charges. This is a very, very recent thing where somebody without a valid degree was treating as a gastroenterologist. So, where there has been a with the complaint with the regulatory commission, naturally the regulatory commission will not take any action against the doctor, but will possibly call upon the hospital, and also the doctor may be referred to the medical council. Breach of research ethics. Well, why did research ethics come into being? These are the backgrounds. The Tuskegee syphilis study. This was conducted by the US Public Health Service, which observed the progression of untreated syphilis in African American men who were misled into believing they were receiving free health care. Treatment was knowingly withheld even after penicillin became available, resulting in severe harm and death amongst participants. The case, exposed by a whistleblower in 1972, led to public outrage and reforms in ethical standards for clinical research. Then you also have the Willowbrook hepatitis experiments from 1956 to the 1970s. Children with intellectual disabilities housed at the Willowbrook State School were intentionally affected with hepatitis to study the disease. The experiment's justification was based on the already high infection rates in the institution, but it sparked serious ethical debate about research on vulnerable population. Nazi human experimentation and the doctor's trial. Following World War II, the Nuremberg trials revealed horrific experiments conducted on concentration camp prisoners, including freezing, high altitude and infectious disease studies, often resulting in torture or death. These violations led to the creation of the Nuremberg Code, a foundational set of international research ethics principles emphasizing voluntary consent and then carrying out the research. Secret US radiation experiments, another very, very horrendous experiment. Patients, children and prisoners were covertly injected or exposed to radioactive materials such as plutonium without their consent, causing lasting harm. These studies, hidden under the pretext of medical care, were later revealed and condemned as grossly unethical. Roe versus Wade, 1973. While not an experiment, this landmark US Supreme Court case about abortion rights deeply impacted ethical discourse, raising questions about patient autonomy, bodily integrity, and state intervention in reproductive health. Albert Kligman's dermatology experimentation. This gentleman, non-therapeutic dermatological experiments, many without proper consent, were conducted on prisoners, highlighting the exploitation of vulnerable groups for research purposes again. So, who sets and enforces ethics in India? So, let us look at the regulators and the legal backdrop. The National Medical Commission, which is the apex regulator as per the NMC Act in 2019, Ethics and Medical Registration Board under NMC controls the ethics and registers, State Medical Council for frontline for disciplinary action, Ministry of Family Health and Welfare, Government of India frames the policies and issues notifications. ICMR controls the research ethics guidelines and oversight through the institutional ethical committees and the independent ethics committees. The IMC is the Professional Conduct, Etiquette and Ethics Regulation 2002. So, what is binding today for clinical ethics? Status snapshot, Medical Council regulations 2000 and 2002 remain operative. NMC's 2023 Professional Conduct Regulations were issued August 2, 2023, but were put in abeyance on August 23 to 25 in the same year. Hence, IMC 2002 continues to guide the day-to-day professional ethics and misconduct proceedings till date. What are the core ethical principles? is the same: beneficence, non-maleficence, respect for autonomy, justice and confidentiality, declaration and duties to patients, colleagues and society, record keeping, consent, fees, certificates and medical legal responsibilities, prohibitions on advertising, self-promotion and solicitation, professional misconduct. Examples in chapter 7 and 8 include relationships with pharma. They provide competent, compassionate care. We are supposed to provide competent and compassionate care without discrimination. Respect patient autonomy and obtain valid information consent. Maintain confidentiality unless legally required to disclose. Prescribe rationally, avoid unnecessary tests and procedures, and maintain accurate medical records. Provide summaries of those medical records on request. Emergency care obligation and referral when beyond competence. Duties to colleagues and to society. Uphold dignity of the profession and avoid disparaging colleagues. Participate in public health. Report notifiable diseases when required. Continuous learning should be done through the CME and the CPD programs. Avoid fee splitting, kickbacks or conflicts of interests. Gifts and pharma relationships. Accepting gifts, travel, hospitality or brand endorsements is unethical. IMC 2002 spirit. Details bans were there in NMC in 2023 draft, but are on hold. Disclose and avoid conflicts of interest. Decisions always should be in patient interest. Consent and documentation essentials. This is very important. Informed, voluntary and preferably written for invasive procedures. Explain risks, benefits, alternative treatments available and consequences of refusal. For minors or mentally incapacitated, consent from lawful guardian and assent where appropriate. Document consent and clinical reasoning in the records. Sorry, this was there earlier. Advertising, titles and social media. No advertising, self-promotion, only factual signboards and letterheads. Use only recognized qualifications. Do not claim specialty without credentials. Avoid testimonials, sensational claims or endorsement of drugs or brands. Professionalism extends to online platforms. Preserve the patient privacy. Telemedicine practice guidelines. This is very important in today's world for a registered medical practitioner. It was published in 25th March 2020 during the COVID times. Identify self with registration number. Verify patient identity. Obtain consent, implied or explicit per context and record it. Use appropriate mode, whether it be text or audio or video based on context. Maintain standard of care equivalent to in-person care. Prescribe using generic names. Follow medicine lists. They are provided in the Schedule 10. Maintain records and privacy. Display registration number on the e-prescriptions also. Complete the mandated online telemedicine training course within 3 years of notification once it becomes available. Telemedicine, what not to do? No prescribing from prohibited lists. It is also available in Schedule X, the NDPS drugs. Avoid telesurgery or remote procedures. Research or training under these guidelines. Do not advertise teleconsults. Avoid issuing certificates only on teleconsult without adequate evaluation. Ensure timely in-person referral for emergencies. Research ethics in India mainly guided by the ICMR. Ethics committee approval is mandatory before starting research. Respect for persons, beneficence, justice, special protections for vulnerable groups. There must be an explanation of the risk and benefit, scientific validity of the study to be undertaken, and fair participant selection. There should be informed consent, the process, the documentation, the waiver and the exception criteria, privacy and confidentiality, the data sharing and the community engagement, compensation for research related injury as per applicable norms, and now this is become a bit difficult because all the compensation, if not borne by the investigating agency, the responsibility now lies upon the principal investigator to compensate. Recent relevant addendum, Policy on Research Integrity and Publication Ethics, 2019, Ethical Conduct of Controlled Human Infection Studies, 2023, Ethical Requirements for Systematic Reviews and Meta-Analysis, this has been given in 2024 addendum. COVID-19 era guidance for ECs and SOP templates have also been published. NMC guidelines on live surgery broadcast. It is very common nowadays. NMC issued guidelines regulating conduct and broadcast of live surgeries, emphasis on patient safety, comprehensive informed consent and oversight, educational value balanced against risks, mandates, processes and approvals, applicability to surgeons, hospitals, medical societies and also to broadcasters. Professional conduct regulation status, NMC 2023. Draft or issued regulations were proposed. They highlighted generic only prescriptions, strict bans on endorsements and gifts, transparency. They emphasized on CPD norms, online grievance portals, social media rules, etc. Due to stakeholder pushback, many provisions were paused. Keep monitoring NMC website for any fresh notifications and amendments. Enforcements of these, where can you complain and where can appeal be made? Primary jurisdiction with the state medical councils who handle complaints and disciplinary actions against the doctors. The EMRB and the NMC oversees and may hear appeals and maintains the National Medical Register. Under IMC 2002, patients or non-doctors have avenues to appeal towards decisions. Recent reportage highlights inconsistency in accepting appeals. Practitioners should track evolving NMC practice. The National Medical Registry is now stalled as per the recent news. It is no more mandatory, and those who have registered, fine. Those who have not registered, well, that will also do. Practical ethical checklist for medical practitioners. Display registration number, use it on prescriptions, receipts and also on digital platforms. Maintain legible contemporaneous records, enable patient access to summaries, use generic names, prescribe rationally, avoid unnecessary investigations, set transparent fees, provide receipt and avoid fee splitting. Have consent templates for general, in general or for procedure specific or for telemedicine and use them. Digital and social media, so very important nowadays, no patient identifying info without consent. No testimonials, endorsements, avoid misleading content, respond professionally to online reviews, don't engage in public clinical debates about individual cases, secure devices, encrypt where possible, follow the data retention norms. Interactions with industry, decline gifts and hospitality, document educational grants preferably through institutions, disclose conflicts, use formulary and evidence-based choices, separate CME education from promotion and verify the accreditation. Minors, emergencies, end of life and referrals. Minor patient, you have to seek guardian consent, seek assent appropriate to age and maturity. Emergency care, you have to provide first aid and stabilization regardless of the ability to pay till you arrange transfer. End of life, respect advance directives where applicable, follow clinical and legal norms. Referral or second opinion, please facilitate without prejudice and share your records promptly. State medical councils and EMRB coordination. State councils investigate, EMRB provides overarching framework and register, escalation pathways exist, document timelines and communications, keep copies of all submissions, maintain professionalism throughout the proceedings if it is against you. Resources you should bookmark. I have given the resources. If anybody wants, I will share this with them. These are the key resources, about 10 or 11 is there. Closing notes. This deck summarizes official guidelines as of August 18, 2025. Always check the NMC or ICMR or Ministry of Health and Family Welfare's websites for the latest notifications before relying on any provisional information. State medical council circulars may add local procedures. Verify those in your jurisdiction. Justice should be for all, and as this is the doctor's forum, may I draw your attention to these two verdicts. No disciplinary action against judge for mere error in judgment. Supreme Court sets aside dismissal of judicial officer. Advocates no longer liable under consumer protection laws for alleged deficiency in service. So this is what is justice for all but for doctors. Thank you so very much, and well, this is, let's end with a bit of laugh when Donald Duck comes in and appeals to the attorney to change his first name. Thank you so very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Shibu. I think we have a wonderful session. So if anybody has any question regarding this medical ethics and their use. So
any questions, you can just look at those, the important links that I have given. I will share them with all of you if required. Yes?
Sir, very good morning. Could you please share your personal experience? Would you please share any of the incidences which may be helpful for our day-to-day practice regarding ethical dilemma, or somebody has done it, you have
I'll just
seen
answer
like
you
this.
in a minute. This is what brought me into diabetes.
Okay, sir.
I used to do intensive care, and at that point of time, I walked into an intensive care unit where a patient was gasping in the ICU. There was no DNR signed. There was no TSL form signed. I intubated the patient, did not put him onto the ventilator, asked the resident to carry on with the ambu bag till till their relatives gave consent for the mechanical ventilation. And I was involved into a lawsuit for a patient whom I did not see technically except for that ventilation aspect. The lawsuit went on for 3 years. I did not earn one single penny from that patient. The surgeon was involved, the hospital was involved. Ultimately, the patient died of sepsis. The surgeon also couldn't perform the surgery. The impending, I could jolly well have taken the decision of not intervening. But being humanitarian and helping the resident to intubate, which was a very difficult intubation, it was a high up larynx. There were 15 total hearings in 3 years, of which there were only 2 hearings which were, other time the lawyers came and took dates. My expenditure was 3.5 lakhs and all in cash because the lawyers do not accept checks. And the last part of the verdict, this case is being dismissed as it was launched with the ulterior motive of extracting money without attachment of any cost. I still preserve the judgment copy with me. I can share it. So I got lured into this by trying to do it. So you have to look at the law. While you are in flight, If you are asked for, or in a train, who is a doctor, come and attend. If you do not attend, if you do not disclose your identity, it's no issue. But if you do attend and the patient lands up in problem, you may be in legal soup. So these are issues which are there, which you have to keep in mind. But yes, the court considers under what circumstances you have done what. A few days ago, I think all of you have read in the internet that there was a road traffic accident and one cardiothoracic surgeon along with 2 residents performed a tracheostomy with a razor blade and inserted a fruity straw to restore the respiration of the patient. They did it while the accident victim was lying there, and then they went to the hospital. They did this in totally good faith. But now if the patient dies and there is a lawsuit, they can be dragged into it. It happened just a few days ago in South India. There was a cardiothoracic surgeon who was returning, and there were 2 intensive care juniors who helped him. And it was already in that, they looked at the ABC and they found that the breathing was inadequate. The surgeon performed a tracheostomy using a razor blade with everything unsterile, bare hands, and ultimately he could not get a tracheostomy tube. He put in a couple of, fruity straws into that tracheostomy place.
I have one confusing question. Can any doctor install CC camera in his personal chamber?
Not within the place where you are examining the patient. You have to, I have in my clinic, but it shows the entry point, focuses on who is entering and who is coming out. There is a single entry point into my cabin, and the CC camera focus is there so that you can see, because it happened with one of our senior physicians that he was alleged that although the mother, later on it was known that the mother was with the child, it was alleged of sexual misconduct. So it has to monitor the gate where the patient is entering, who are the attendants and who is coming out. So
okay, thank
we
you.
are 5 minutes late.
I think we are already running 5 minutes late. So I
Over
would
to
like
Dr.
to
Ajay Biswas.
conclude the session, and like to hand over one memento to Shomo for delivering this talk.
Probably the line between what is required to be done and what is recommended is gradually fading. We do clinic in another place where it is boldly written, you are under CCTV surveillance, and if someone enters without an accompanying person or with an accompanying person, a lady along with another lady, and eventually she turns up to be a hostile evidence, you put yourself in danger. So there are clinics where people are putting in clinic CCTV with a note, you are under CCTV surveillance, but remember, you are responsible for the privacy and security of such recording things. God forbid, if you are exposing part of your patient and that is stored on your camera, you might get sued once again. You are talking across the table and that documentation is recorded that you are serving, it's fine. But patient examining, patient exposing on camera and you preserving such bare footage, you will be responsible for criminal nonsense. You are without consent, you are basically illegally collecting the footage, and that could be a severe criminal offense. So there are gray lines, gray zones. Without much delay, we move on to our next session. Request Professor Anirban Majumdar and Professor Kaushik to come to the dais. Dr. Kullan Gangopadhyay doesn't require any introduction. May I request all three? Is Dr. Partho Sarkar around? Dr. Partho is not, his mother is expired, and Dr. Devmallu is on the way, but probably he would be late because he is attending some emergency. So I understand it will be